Welcome to the Leadership Purpose with Robin podcast. I'm your host, Robin L. Owens, PhD, and this is where we dive in each week to give advice, tools, and tips for high-achieving women leaders, and we talk about leadership purpose and its importance for you. I am a college professor, and when I am not doing that, I am speaking, writing, coaching, mentoring, and teaching high-achieving women leaders how to find, and not only find, but how to stay in alignment with their leadership purpose so they can make a meaningful difference right there in their career, leadership, or business. Okay, let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Leadership Purpose with Dr. Robin. We're so glad you're here and that you take time to listen in and share with us each episode. And today I am talking with Lisa Morton. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Lisa. Lisa Morton is the CEO and founder of Roland Dransfield, one of the most established PR and communications agency in Manchester, England. For the last 24 years, Lisa has worked to forge meaningful, lasting business relationships that create both business growth and social impact, alongside of her award-winning team of strategists, journalists, creatives, and social media specialists. She and her team have helped countless companies, brands, and people communicate their stories effectively and target the right audience, creating purposeful relationships. Lisa is continuing to expand Roland Dransfield and explore new paths for growth, now with a London office and a partnership with an LA-based agency. Lisa is deeply and profoundly committed to purpose-driven work. And I'm so glad Lisa is here with us today. Welcome, Lisa Morton.
Thank you so much, Robin. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I love the work that you do. So when I got the request, I was absolutely delighted. So thank you for making me a guest.
I'm so glad you're here. So let's just jump right in. All right. So tell everyone a little bit more about you, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the work you do. So first, Start with a little bit more about you and then the work you do.
Okay. So as you said, we've actually just celebrated our 25th anniversary of Roland Dransfield. So that's quite a milestone. I'm also a mum to two amazing kids. So my son, Alex, is 22 and my daughter, Nina, is 20. And so that comes first. But alongside that, I've run the business and I set it up after two agency positions before that. And I actually named the business after my godfather, who is actually called Roland Dransfield, because he was a really important person in my life. He actually met my dad when my dad was young and gave him a job. So he's a really great entrepreneur. And my dad was an entrepreneur. And Roland one day came to my mum's house and said to me, "You need to have your own business." And he brought me a bucket and a sponge. And he said, "You've got a car washing round. So go and wash, or car valeting, maybe. Go and wash the neighbours' cars, come back and pay me for the bucket and the sponge." And I did that and I was in profit. So that was when my business career started. So I decided to name the business after him because his work ethics were similar to kind of my values. So that's why. And it's been a really incredible journey. We've had 25 years old, but we've managed to keep relevant and modernize. And the whole time, the business has been built on relationships with purpose.
Wow. Congratulations on your 25 years. And that's a very interesting story. What a wonderful tribute and honor to your godfather who introduced you to the entrepreneurial life. That's wonderful. It sounds like you've had a rich experience over this past 25 years of doing work that is meaningful for you. Tell us what you enjoy most about the work and why.
So obviously, we've talked about purposeful relationships. And for me, that's our purpose, particularly as a PR agency. We are dot connectors and we exist to help brands and businesses and individuals to create meaningful connections and networks which add value to them, to their businesses and their communities, their teams. And so I think most importantly also for those organizations to leave a legacy. So to have a business with purpose is very, very important. It's very much more than the business itself and what it does on a day-to-day basis. We have a responsibility to do that work. And I really enjoy putting people together two people together or two organizations together that may not even know each other, and then see that magic that can happen when you can create that impact that, separately they probably wouldn't be able to create. So that's really what's very important. And we do that work either by helping organizations to dig into the purpose if they have one, and to find it if they don't have one. And then it's life-changing, it's business-changing. And also to really help them to lean into their values. Lots of businesses say they have values, but if you ask them to tell you what they are, they don't actually know. And they'll open a drawer and they're going to be in there somewhere. So we help them to make sure that they can, work and live through those values, and make sure that they kind of run through the whole DNA of the organization. And it's life-changing, and not just from a business point of view, but for everybody who's involved in that process. Suddenly the light bulb goes on and you get up in the morning and you understand who you're working with for alongside, not just what you're doing each day.
Yes, and it does make a difference who you are connected with and who you are aligned with as an individual or an organization. So that's important work that you're doing to make sure it's like a matching.
Yes.
You're making sure there's a purposeful match.
That's very true. I'd not thought about it like that. Yeah, it is. And if you're very kind of firm on and open about your values, you will connect the right people. You'll bring the right people to you. And that's, sometimes I think, how did that happen? But I know it's not serendipity. It's because you put that work out there.
Yes, yes. And it's amazing when you have the right combination come together. And it sounds like you're dedicated and committed and good at making the right combinations come together.
Thank you. I hope so.
So you're celebrating 25 years. And so I know you've learned a lot through your experience and developed your expertise over that time. So what's one piece of advice you would give to a listener now? And the listeners are broad, and this podcast is generally for what I call high achieving women leaders, whether they are in a leadership position or not, officially or unofficial. But they are the women, the professionals who are typically responsible for others and supporting others in their primary work. But who supports them? And so this podcast is for us to support them. And so we bring on guests like you to share from your experience, just to encourage, inspire, and motivate whoever's listening at this point. So given that, what is one piece of advice you'd give to our listener right now?
Well, the one piece of advice I would give, and it's taken me a very long time to find this out, but when we set values as an organization, it actually changed my life, because I think as women in particular, and women in leadership positions, and as you say, it doesn't need to be an official leadership positions. Women tend to be leaders from it being in the playground, don't we? I mean, we're the organizers. We have to do stuff. We might have business commitments. We might have children. We might have elderly parents to look after, a home to manage. It's very easy to not set boundaries. So we can't lead in, we can't show up against all the things we want to show up against because we're depleted. And I found when probably 3 years ago, when we really went through this piece of work with the business, in actual fact, in hindsight, I was doing it for me, because I had been probably the expression, the tail wagging the dog. The business had gone through a big period of growth and innovation, which I wanted to do. In doing that, I brought people into the organization who had very, accomplished careers, but maybe didn't actually fit with the values that were important to me. So I was upset, I was confused, I was frustrated at times, because I felt like I was being pulled away from what was important to me. And that also then has an impact on your personal life and how your familiar relationships might work, or romantic relationships, or your dynamics with your kids. So my piece of advice is set those values, take that time. And it's not something you can write on a piece of paper and be done. It might take 6 weeks. It might take 2 months. It takes dedicated time when you need to close the door and work on what matters to you, review that, come back to it. Does that sit with you? And then write that down. I mean, as a business now, we have this on our wall, it's on our website, it's in our DNA, it's on our podcast. Our clients know what we stand for, our team does, but they also know what I stand for personally. And for me, it's been liberating, because we did the work around the values of the team, but ultimately there was nothing on that wall that's not going to sit with me personally. So I found, as a female leader, it was liberating, because there's a real tendency to show up and having to be the mother, that always it's a family, you have to be a mother, and therefore you can make allowances with the family that you can't make in an organization. It'll take you away from your purpose. So once I figured out the purpose and the values, that set me free as a woman and as a leader and as a business leader. And I realized that if you don't set boundaries and if you don't set values, how do you know if they're being undermined?
Yes. They could be undermined and you're not even aware of it. So having that consciousness of your values out front, like you were talking about, you all keep it posted in front of you. So it's always in your consciousness. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. Now, as you know, my work is all about leadership purpose. And so when you hear that term leadership purpose, what comes to your mind? For
me, leadership purpose is about using your platform to contribute. Being a leader is a very privileged position to be in. And it means often that you have earned respect, you've earned the platform, you've earned connections, you've earned contacts, you've got skills. So therefore, if you don't lead with purpose, what are you actually leading? So I think it's about making sure you put in more than you take out as a leader. That's your job. And we have a value at Roland Dransfield, which is plant trees you'll never see. So
I like that.
You like it. It's my favourite value. Leave a legacy out of respect for those who follow. So we have to use those platforms to do good stuff, do good business, use our platform to help solve problems, create solutions, have impact on our teams and our communities and the people in the world around us. Even if it's a small amount, that has got to be leadership purpose. And on top of that, it's empowering people within your organization or those people around you to also be leaders, because they don't recognize they are. And everybody's a leader in their own. John Amici, I interviewed John last week for my podcast, and he said, we're all giants. A lot of people just don't realize that they're giants. So we have to, as leaders, help to create other giants around us and come from a place of abundance, not scarcity. It's no threat to us if we're surrounded by other leaders. That's a good thing. We don't have to be the only one.
Yeah.
It makes our lives easier as well. We don't have to do it all.
You're right. And you mentioned your podcast. I didn't mention that earlier in our intro. So your podcast is called We Built This City. Is that correct?
That's right.
We Built This City. So glad to hear about the podcast. And so everyone who's listening, here's another podcast you can listen to. Built This City. Lisa Morton is the host of that podcast. And just to kind of follow up on our discussion about leadership purpose, and you said some of this, it sounds like you're saying leadership is important. Why do you think it's important?
I think it's the most important thing about leadership. For me, I don't understand how the two things go hand in hand. How can you be a leader without purpose? There are successful people and people who are financially successful and are extremely wealthy, but unless they are doing something with that wealth and the knowledge that has got them to that wealth, then they're not leaders in my view. They don't have purpose. We see, people who've got no means whatsoever. They're leading in their communities. They're taking responsibility to make their corner of the world a better place. They aren't doing what other people do and just sit and enjoy, the spoils of their wealth. I mean, we have to be leaders. It's our job. And also, if we've got kids, our kids have got to see us lead and do that. Put more in than we take out. It's very, very important.
Yes. We are always leading in some way, influencing, impacting. Somebody is watching us and following our model and example. Well, Lisa Morton, this has been a wonderful conversation. And I'm sure people who are listening are saying, how can I follow her? How can I hear more? And so tell everybody where they can hear more about you or learn more about you and follow you.
Great. Well, so yes, if you're interested in finding out how to kind of build purpose and values, you can find us on www.rdpr.co.uk. Instagram is at Roland Dransfield, and Twitter is at RDPR Tweets. And as you said, you can find We Built the City, which is about the values of some incredible Mancunians, born, bred or adopted, including John Amici, who is on our podcast on the 9th of September. And that's wherever you get your podcasts. So that's We Built Your City, and a bonus podcast called Know Your Value. So it'd be great if anybody could listen and subscribe and leave a review for some feedback.
That would be wonderful. Thank you for sharing that information. Okay, so everybody, you've heard that. Lisa Morton is the one to get in contact with, and I'll put what she just said in the show notes so you'll have all her social media handles and you'll be able to reach her on her website. Lisa, this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for spreading your wisdom across the airwaves, across the big ocean. From the UK to Los Angeles. Thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. As I say, I love your podcast, so I will be sharing it as soon as I can. But yeah, it's wonderful, and keep up the good work. Thanks, Robin.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you, everyone, for listening in. This is Dr. Robin, and you can reach me on my website, robinlowens.com, robinlowens.com, and I am Robin L. Owens, PhD, on social media. And until next time, this is Dr. Robin. Bye, everyone. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Leadership Purpose with Robin podcast. If you enjoyed it, head on over and rate and subscribe so you never miss an episode. New episodes drop every week, and I can't wait to hang out with you again soon. Meanwhile, this is Robin signing off. See you next time.